Well, good afternoon. Good afternoon and welcome. Welcome to another of our Webinar Wednesdays hosted by CSU Bakersfield Small Business Development Center. Good afternoon. It's the wonderful chimes ringing in the background. I'm Kelly Bearden, and I am the director of the CSU SBDC. I'll be your host today as we have our webinar series number 260. Little warning today, we will be celebrating our 10th Webinar Wednesday business, or birthday. So it is great to have you. We got a couple of great guests coming up to celebrate Webinar Wednesday's 10th birthday. So a little heads up coming up on Webinar Wednesday for the month of February. We will next week have Dr. Nitunde Machika, who is the CSUB economics professor. He'll be I believe our 6th economics professor. So we're looking forward to Nitunde and him visiting next week to give a broad approach to economics and what's going on. Then we'll have Mr. Charles Eason, who is an SBIR, Small Business Innovation Research Program, $3 billion in grant funds for innovative and creative uses. So you'll want to tune in for some of that. February 15th will be Dr. Igor Calzada, who is our Fulbright scholar who visited CSUB during the fall. And also he is with Cardiff University in Wales, UK. He is tentatively and actually scheduled to join us on the 15th. And then a really interesting program that we haven't had on Webinar Wednesday in a long time, and that is on the USDA value-added producers grants, about $20 million or so that goes to small agricultural uses. Our California representative out of Eureka will be Ms. Sandra Pirati, and she will be joining us to talk about that. So that's what's coming up on Webinar Wednesday. Hey, we're reusing and recycling. Not composting, but we are definitely recycling and reusing our 8th anniversary Webinar Wednesday birthday cake. When you're part of a bureaucracy, this is what you do. You have your cake and you eat it too. We did eat this particular cake for our 8th anniversary, but it's such a fine cake. It can be used so nicely here for our 10th birthday party for Webinar Wednesday. Webinar Wednesday has been around since January 23rd, 2013. So there's our birthday cake. And, as we get going today, we're going to go through a number of things. And just before we break for our poll, we're going to have a special video that's played. But we will hold you in a little bit of suspense as part of our preview for today, January the 25th, 2022. So it's great. We're going to get a wonderful SBA update. The Small Business Administration District Director for the Fresno District, Dawn Golik, will give us that and maybe provide us a little bit of information on some of the storm assistance. It seems like a different week than last week. Sunny skies, California weather, no more terrible floods, raining, everything. What a difference a week can make. But the storm left behind a lot of issues, and we'll talk about that. We'll also find out what's happening with area small businesses, and we'll have a state of the small business from our Central California Regional Executive Director, Kurtis Clark. Economic corner today. We've been talking about the big layoffs in the tech sector, and we're going to tie that back to what's happening between larger and smaller businesses and what has been going on with hiring. The last 2 Webinar Wednesdays, we've had our poll question based on your hiring, and I was so shocked by the first time. We had to do it again last week with over half of you wanting to hire new employees. So with a large enough sample size, and that's a good healthy sample size, those 2 weeks, we're confident that that's the direction that you want to go. So we're going to talk a little bit about that on Economic Corner. Our Capital Quarter is going to add the cash flow forecast to our tools shed, business news and info you need here in 2023 here at Webinar Wednesdays. And as always, we'll take your questions afterwards and also do a poll. But let me set up our video that we're about ready to share. In the term of recycle, reuse, which we like to do a lot of around here, we actually had this presented for us back in 2019 as part of our 100th webinar. And I believe Congressman McCarthy, Speaker McCarthy, has been on TV enough lately. And even though his staff would go out of their way and made another video, we're going to recycle our 100th video, our 100th webinar, a video from Congressman McCarthy from July 24th, 2019. So here goes the video.
Hi, I'm Congressman Kevin McCarthy, and I want to congratulate you all on your 100th webinar. As both a CSUB graduate and a small businessman myself, I'm proud of your efforts to strengthen our local business community. These webinars are a vital asset, boosting our economy and helping Kern County business owners reach their potential peak. On behalf of a grateful community, thank you for the critical services you provide, and congratulations on reaching this incredible milestone.
And thank you to Speaker McCarthy and his staff for doing that for us. Moving right along, as I get back here to, there's our actual, it's time for a poll. So let's go to a poll. We've been kind of fixated with small businesses and jobs during this particular year, 2023, as we mentioned a little bit. So our simple poll question today, one simple little poll question, and it comes from a published report today. Over the last 25 years, it's what percentage of jobs have been created by small business? And I believe they use the definition of a small business like SBA's of 500 employees or less. So what, is it 25, 50, 66, or 80%? So over the past 25 years, what percentage of the total jobs in the United States have been created by small business? So we got about 45%. Oh, look at it go, 50% of you that have participated. You know, we really like that 65%. So jump in and answer the question. Over the past 25 years, what percentage of the jobs have been created by small business? 25, 50, 66, or 80? So 63% of you are in. We're going to give you just a couple of moments to get your last one in. We'll click over 70% participation. Thank you for participating. We're going to go ahead and close the poll right now and share the results with you. And you're correct. At least 50% of you that said 66%, two-thirds, roughly two-thirds of all jobs in the past 25 years have been created by small business. I know many of you know I love the 80-20 rule and the 20-80, but 27% of you, 80%, and the way things are going now with some of the numbers that we'll share in a second, it could be even go in that direction. So thank you for participating. We're going to stop our poll for today and move on with the presentation. Okay. So, talking about jobs, we'll be talking about our economic corner next week in great detail. But what we've learned, as we have said, is that many of you are looking, more than half of you are looking to hire new employees in 2023. And it's really interesting, some of the words that have come out as of basically the Wall Street Journal from today, is that one of the things that small businesses around the country, their hiring plans could be problematic for the Federal Reserve as they plan to cut inflation. So mentioned our last two webinar surveys have really boosted, really surprised me, the number of hiring, with over half of you wanting to hire new employees in a market to where we're seeing the primary driver of high rates of inflation is coming from the labor markets. So it's coming from wage growth. Is where inflation is coming from. And so as the Fed continues to slow the economy and trying to reduce the labor market, our small businesses have a great need. And it's not only a current need. If you look back since February 2020, an amazing statistic here, Small firms, and in this one, we'll say small firms with fewer than 250 employees have hired literally 2 2/3 million people, 2.67 million more than they had laid off, while larger firms up to 50 have cut a net jobs of about 100,000. So really kind of an interesting dynamic over the last 3 years, and something we're going to probably be jumping into a little bit next week. So also moving forward on capital quarter, we do have 2 components here, and we're going to hit on one right toward the end. And it's the California Micro Grant Program for Kern has suspended accepting applications. Had a flurry of applications that have been coming in. Want to make sure everybody gets funded. The program could reopen, but stay tuned, and we will provide you the latest on the California Micro Grant Program. And also, just kind of our reminder that we've been talking about the actually, this really doesn't make any sense. Reminder of EIDL and the employer tax credit. I'm going to pass on EIDL, talking about EIDL for today, but we will mention the employer tax credit. And again, we are just advising people if they are looking to do the ERC, it is now that it's tax season to enlist your tax professional if you haven't done so already. We've been seeing a lot of individuals and mills and getting a lot of emails and phone calls from organizations that are doing large quantities of these. It doesn't necessarily, they're not irreputable firms from what we can tell, the ones that we've vetted, but still, while you're doing your taxes, it's a great opportunity to check with your tax professional on that particular issue. There's the one I've been sharing the last couple of weeks where I received about 8 emails in over a 2-week period. I am happy to say I haven't received any in the last week. So apparently we have got the message across that the California State University Bakersfield really is not an eligible applicant for the ERC regardless of how many emails you send me. So moving along, kind of our YouTube channel is out there. Here are a few of our oldies but goodies that are out there. Some of them from 2022 and some of them previous, going all the way back to if you ever wanted to franchise your business, a great presentation back then by Mark Siebert. Check out our YouTube channel at CSU SBDC and like us or actually subscribe to us. Notable news that I'd like you to know is going to return next week, really because the notable news I wanted you to know was the fact that small businesses have been hiring so many people, and we've already covered that. So what tools do we have that are new for your toolbox? We've already had Webinar Wednesday and Live Plan. We put SBDC Net in there. So this week we're putting in our cash flow forecast, and this is our little Excel spreadsheet that helps you manage cash flow during uncertain times. So we do have the cash flow forecast that is available, a little glimpse of it. We've used it a lot during the last 260 webinars and have this available for you. All you need to do is ask. And it even could end up in the chat, who knows, by today. And so basically the forecast just works as a budget for cash purposes and really demonstrates what your cash position will be at any time at the end of a month, any given month. So what we do is we have the cash available on hand, and then we show out our paid expenses. The nice thing, look at that bottom line cash position. So that is available, and that is our new tool for the toolbox. And we'll probably talk a little bit more about that, but we got 2 great speakers today, so we got to get rolling. And our first speaker today is going to be Kurtis Clark. He's our opening act for Dawn Golik today. So Kurtis Clark is the Executive Director of the Central California Region, hosted by UC Merced. He oversees the efforts of SBDC services throughout the Central California region, with centers here in Modesto, Clovis, Modesto, Salinas, and San Luis Obispo. He's currently in his 5th year with UC Merced in this position. Previously, Kurt ran the Valley Sierra SBDC, which covers the northern San Joaquin Valley and also northern San Joaquin foothills and Sierra regions. He's a graduate with his Master's of Business Administration, MBA from California State University Stanislaus. Kurt, take it away, please.
Thank you, Kelly. And I don't know where you dug that picture up, but I actually have red hair in that picture. So that must go back before I started as the executive director of Central California. Aged me a little bit. So I'm still proud to have white hair, though, or any hair at all, actually. So I would like to share my screen and share just a kind of a quick PowerPoint to run through, if I could do that. I think, Kelly, you have to stop sharing. Here we go. And I need to go into slideshow. And hopefully that gives you what you want to see. Is that the right image, Kelly?
That is perfect.
Okay, so we did the intro, and welcome everyone. Thank you for joining today. Thank you, Kelly, for hosting me. And I'd just like to give a kind of a quick overview summary of kind of the state of business as kind of I see it and as I hear about it from my SBDC directors across 14 counties of Central California, and from our clients and other stakeholders and supporters of the program. We are hopefully, and I think all of us are comfortable to say, we are in a post-pandemic environment. Yes, COVID is still around, as well as other contagions, but I think we have seen the worst now, finally, after almost 3 years of this stuff. I think, it's now endemic in our environment, and we'll deal with it as it, kind of ebbs and flows. But in terms of a true pandemic or a true economic emergency, I think it is now behind us. But what are we left with in its wake? For a lot of small business owners and just people in general, there's still a little bit of fear out there, fear of new variants. You still see a significant number of people out in stores wearing masks. Certainly have no issue with that. Everyone should do what they feel they're comfortable with. And certainly we want to protect our family, our friends, our loved ones, our coworkers. There's also frustration. There's still frustration that we're hearing things coming out from government entities about how we're supposed to behave. There's those that say, I don't want to do that. There's those that say everybody should do that. There's frustration regardless of people's perspective on, what the should be the kind of the accepted normal behavior, considering there are contagions in the environment. And I think the last that we all feel and have felt for quite a while is there's just this overall fatigue, pandemic fatigue, and we're looking for some good news. We're looking for kind of some new energy. I think, spring is going to be very helpful for all of us as we get past the winter season, and hopefully the new outlook on life, and we'll begin to see hopefully some more positive things occur. What do those 3 F's actually do in the business environment? And this is based again on what I'm hearing. Definitely there's been a change in customer expectations. And for small business owners, depending on the industry you're in, depending on the community you're in, depending upon, the type of clientele you serve, your customers are going to expect certain things from you. They certainly want to be safe when they're in your store or engaging in commerce with you. They certainly want to be listened to and treated with respect. And it's a different kind of dynamic than maybe what we experienced as business owners pre-pandemic. So just be aware that your customers have different expectations today than they did 3, 4, 5 years ago. And it's important as a business owner that you talk to your customers, that you listen to what they say. Doesn't mean you have to do every single thing that every person asks you to do, but you should be collecting intel. You should be listening to them. You should be talking to your frontline staff who are engaged with customers. Find out what those customer expectations are and how you should respond to them. There are certainly changes in employee expectations. We hear this on the news all the time. There was a lot of remote working going on. Not every business, every job could do their work remotely, but many employees have kind of grown accustomed to at least part of their work week can be done remotely. Just be aware that employees have different expectations. And we're going to see that continue with the impacts of inflation and how that affects people's kind of earning power and take-home pay. And people are going to expect financial compensation, especially if they are asked to kind of go above and beyond. One of the things that we're telling clients, and we're really focused a lot on this lately, how important it is for businesses to stay profitable. It's very difficult to sustain a business long-term if there isn't a profitable cycle, at least on an annual or in a short-term basis. Most small businesses can't absorb negative cash flow for very long. It's very difficult. So get out ahead of this, understand your costs, understand your cash flow, make sure you're talking to your accountant, or if you have an internal bookkeeper, make sure you have conversations as a business owner. And, how are we doing financially? Are we profitable? What do we need to do to be optimally profitable, to deal with some of these headwinds and some of these impacts that are coming and will continue to come? We are seeing a big significant impact to the economy through rising interest rates. Kelly mentioned that the Fed is trying to get a handle on inflation, and their best tool, one of their few tools, is to increase interest rates to try to cool down inflation. And that will affect businesses when they go to borrow. It's affecting ancillary businesses in the housing market. So if you sell furniture and home sales are going down, it's probably going to have an impact on your business as well. Inconsistent supply chain. A lot of people have experienced this over the last year. In some cases, it's improving. In other cases, it hasn't improved much. I think slowly it is getting better, but there will continue to be some disruptions to the traditional supply chains. And lastly, there is a shortage of quality labor. And when I say quality, what I mean is the employees that businesses are seeking that have the skill set, the attitude, the availability that the businesses are looking for. We're hearing some very creative solutions out there: job sharing, flex time, adjusting work responsibilities to better align with employees that may not have all the skill sets you traditionally were able to find when you recruited new employees. So just be aware this is likely to continue, at least in the short term. So another impact of kind of this post-pandemic economy is uncertainty. There's definitely a lot of uncertainty right now. And one of the things, and I put it in the form of kind of a question, is this part of the new normal? Is uncertainty going to be kind of one of our standard economic conditions or standard social conditions that we have to learn to adjust to? And I think to some degree, yes, it's true. Big question: is a recession coming? How deep will it be? How long will it last? Nobody knows, right? If I could answer that with certainty, I might get into a different field. But right now, I'm going to venture to say that the most experts that I've read or heard from are saying there will be at least a mild recession in 2023 and into 2024, probably starting mid-year and lasting for anywhere from 12 to 18 months. Now, don't quote me on that, because who knows, but that is what I'm hearing. So what's driving the slowdown in the economy? Well, the main thing is the Fed is using interest rates as a brake on the economy, and they are intentionally trying to slow down the economy to get inflation under control. They use that, again, interest rates are used for that purpose. A slower economy means that there will be less purchasing, and that will lead to layoffs. One of the positive things that we're seeing, at least in the short term, at least, recently, you're hearing a lot in the news about large businesses. Kelly alluded to the tech industry is starting to announce layoffs. A lot of that is forward looking over the next 3 to 6 months. And as those layoffs come to fruition, should they, that will definitely impact the economy. We're also seeing announcements in the financial sectors, large national banks, global banks announcing layoffs. That probably will begin to impact other segments of the economy. And I think that layoffs will definitely lead to a slower economy going forward in the next 12 to 24 months. There's growing consumer debt. There's been a lot of reporting over the last 2 or 3, 4 months about consumers using credit cards and borrowing equity against their home, different sources of debt financing for what would be traditional consumer consumption. That's not a very positive thing, and it's not sustainable in the long term. So we have to really pay attention to this. But the impact on small businesses is, as consumers acquire more debt, more of their money, their spendable income has to go to service that, pay off that debt, and they'll have less disposable income for dining out, the extras, the traveling, etc. Gradually, it begins to affect other purchase decisions, which affect all segments of the economy. And believe it or not, in spite of what we've heard over the last few years, there will be at some point a reduction in government spending. There's so much in the pipeline right now that we are not going to see this right away. The infrastructure funding that occurred, a year, 18 months ago, is still going to work its way through the economy, and that's going to happen for a few years. The Inflation Reduction Act pumped a lot of money into the economy, will continue to do so. But I think local and state government, we're going to see some impacts sooner than at the federal level. So what are some of the opportunities now that I've given you all of the dark and gloomy news and the things to kind of be concerned about? I do believe there's opportunities for small business. We are blessed to be in the Central Valley for many reasons. One, we are not dominated by some of the tech-heavy, finance-heavy business industry sectors that are in the Bay Area and the coastal communities. Ag is pretty positive, although commodity prices have been very soft, and hopefully those will come back a little stronger next year. But there are opportunities. Our local economy is doing pretty well, and the layoffs will probably occur, but a little bit later than some of the urban areas. Plan ahead to avoid or to best deal with problems. Be proactive. One of the things that makes small businesses so successful in uncertain times, challenging times, is they're proactive, they're nimble, they can react quickly to issues, but don't put your head in the sand. Don't think it's just going to blow over. Some of these headwinds, some of these problems that we see coming, challenges in the macroeconomic environment, are going to last a while. So it's best to prepare for them. Get good intel from your professionals like a bookkeeper, CPA, attorney, your banker, etc. Read respectable sources of information and stay out ahead of issues. I can't reiterate this enough. You really have to know what's needed to be profitable and stay profitable. If you have a 3 to 6 to 12 month downside in your business, can you absorb that? How much, will those losses be? And do you have enough savings to sustain the business until a more profitable period returns? You need to know those numbers and know them very well. Know what your customers want and why. Really important, because the market is changing, customer preference is changing, what they buy, how they buy, where they consume, how it's delivered to them. The standard bearer is Amazon. You can go on Amazon today and get a lot of stuff tomorrow. It's hard for small businesses to compete with that type of distribution and delivery service. So we have to find other ways to be competitive and to satisfy our customers. Communicate price challenges. You don't have to tell your customers everything, but it's okay to let people know, hey, inflation's affecting us as a business owner as well. We're not raising our prices just to make more money. Our prices are going up. So educate your staff so they can have positive conversations with customers and not just say, oh, well, you know, my boss wants to go to Hawaii for vacation. That's not why the prices are going up. So make sure that you have, you know, take the time to educate your staff how to have these conversations with customers. I'm a consumer. I go to the grocery store. I see, you know, eggs at $7, $8 a dozen. And, you know, that doesn't make me happy. But if it's costing the store $6.50 a dozen, then I can understand why they need to charge $8. Be prepared to pay more to keep and attract good staff. That is going to be one of the biggest challenges to small businesses going forward. I think this inflation in wages is going to be with us for a while. Challenges in finding good quality staff is going to be with us for a while, but just be prepared to weather that storm. And seek help from your local SBDC. We're here, we're professional. We don't charge for our counseling because, again, we have these wonderful funders, the SBA, Cal SBA, state of California, and local governments, as well as other sources of funding, so that we can provide our services to the small business community at basically at no cost to you. Counseling is always at no cost. And lastly, we will offer you a business checkup. You can get a counselor, a trusted advisor that you can work with for the long term to do an analysis of the business, find out what's working, what might need some tweaking and help, and get that advice, because it could be the difference between, you know, just holding your own or actually being profitable, or God forbid, not being able to keep your doors open. Just some quick numbers, just to kind of give you the sense of our program is very substantial. It's a very large program across the 14 counties. Unique clients served last year, over 4,600. We assisted 267 pre-venture clients actually launch their business. This is the highest number we've had in our network over the last 15 years. It's a huge increase. We're seeing people, you know, kind of take that risk head on and make the plunge, starting their business. Huge amount of loans and mostly equity investment. A little bit of this is kind of pandemic money still flowing, but most of this is people finding equity sources of capital or being able to borrow money to make investments in their business. Jobs retained, training events, et cetera, pretty substantial program. So we do a lot for a lot of people. We want to serve more, so help us get the word out that we're here to help. We have over 150 advisors. Our advisors speak 11 languages, and we have experts in most all areas of business operations. And Kelly, I don't know if there's time for Q&A, but I'm certainly happy to help. I don't want to cut into Dawn's time, and I know that we have kind of a limited amount of time for this webinar, so I'll leave it up to you.
Well, we have the Q&A scheduled at the end. So thanks, Kurt. That was some fantastic information. Congratulations on those wonderful numbers and really your leadership to this entire region. But the bad news on all that is that you did make economic projections and forecasts. So yes, you're going to be held accountable to that prediction. So we will check back with you on those in a few months or maybe a year. But thank you so much again. And now it is my pleasure to go backwards and introduce Dawn Golik. And Dawn is the District Director for the U.S. Small Business Administration's Fresno office, manages the field effort across 14 counties throughout Central California. She joined as the Deputy District Director for the Fresno office in 2012. and has really used some massive skills that she has in collaboration, community development, marketing, and became the district director in 2018. Previously, she was the acting regional communications director for the entire Region 9, which includes California, Arizona, Nevada, and Hawaii. She managed the communications efforts throughout that 4-state area. Prior to joining SBA, Dawn was the chief of public affairs for the Veterans Administration, serving as an acting field office director for HUD. As the theme with all three of us here, she is a graduate of the California State University system, receiving her degree from Fresno State in Bachelor's of Art in Psychology, and also a professional certificate in public administrations from Harvard Kennedy School. Dawn, it's great to have you join us today. Thank you so much.
It's great to be here. Thank you. You and Kurt are a tough act to follow, but I'm going to do my best. So thank you for the opportunity to talk with all of you today. This is a wonderful 260 of these. What a great service to small businesses, and how lucky we are to have Kelly and his team at the SBDC. So I'm the director of the Fresno SBA District Office. Kelly actually, he shorted me one county. So we actually serve 15 counties, the entire San Joaquin Valley and Central Coast. So very much aligns with the SBDC network that Kurt talked about. And I want to talk about a few things today that I think would be of interest to small businesses. So first of all, the weather, disasters. I know that's been very top of mind for everybody. So I want to give you an update on what is happening. SBA is one of the federal agencies, along with FEMA, that does provide federally guaranteed disaster assistance following a disaster. And so for all of us here in the Valley that have been hammered with storms and rain and mudslides and flooding over the last couple of weeks, the SBA has already provided disaster assistance to businesses as well as homeowners, renters, churches, nonprofits, and others who are eligible in several counties. This is a very fluid situation, no pun intended, right now with the floods. And there are a handful of counties. Kern is not yet one, but there are a handful of counties here in Central California currently: Merced, Monterey, and now San Luis Obispo, where a disaster declaration has been issued. And so those who are affected by the disaster in those counties that experience physical loss or physical damage to their home, if they're renters or even homeowners, may be eligible for disaster assistance. However, what is available to Kern County businesses is what's called an economic injury disaster loan. Well, what does that mean? That means if you are a small business and let's say your biggest customer or client is in Monterey or San Luis or Merced or another one of the counties where there has been a disaster declaration, you may have suffered economic injury because of the disaster, although perhaps not direct physical injury to your business. So Kern County is eligible for economic injury disaster loans because of the disaster, because you are a contiguous county to other counties where there has been a disaster declaration made. All of that to say that there are, again, additional counties that are constantly being added. I will post in the chat the information and a link where you can go as a business owner to find out more information on SBA disaster assistance. Again, this is a fast moving and it's a very fluid situation right now. There are more counties being brought online weekly. So I know there are many counties that have requested disaster assistance, and those requests are being reviewed and are pending. So I will drop a link where you as a business owner can just check and get the most up-to-date information about what might be available to you as a business and which counties have been declared disaster areas. I mentioned the economic injury disaster loan for the flood, but I also now want to talk a little bit about the economic injury disaster loan, or the EIDL, for COVID. We know that many of you during the pandemic, many of you I know working with your SBDC, even applied for and received an economic injury disaster loan. So a couple of things about that. Number one, by statute, all of those loans have to be fully repaid. I know our office has taken many phone calls from businesses and nonprofit agencies that said, we got an economic injury disaster loan in EIDL for COVID. Is this going to be forgiven? And the answer is no. At this time, there's nothing has been issued forgiving these loans. And by statute, all economic injury disaster loans that were made under COVID have to be fully repaid. So the next question we get asked is, well, when is my loan payment due? So all of the economic injury disaster loans made for COVID received a 30-month deferment. So depending on when you received your loan, some folks got them right at the beginning of the pandemic and their 30 months is coming due. That 2.5 years of deferment where interest is accruing, but no payments have to be made, is coming to a conclusion and payments will have to start being made. If you have received an EIDL and you're not sure if your payment is due, again, I'm going to put some information in the chat, but you can reach out to our office here in Fresno that serves Kern County and the whole San Joaquin Valley. You can also reach out to SBA's Disaster Loan Servicing Center in El Paso. They can also provide you that information. But there's two things that we want you to do as EIDL borrowers. The first thing is that you have access to an online portal, an online dashboard that SBA maintains. It's called CAFS. We love our acronyms in the federal government. The Capital Access Financial System. And you can go onto CAFS, you can set up an account, and it will give you full access. Basically, you can see everything that we can see here at SBA about your loan. So you can see how much your payment is, you can see when your loan is due, you can see how much interest you've paid, you can see the balance on the loan, you can see payments that have been made. It's a really important resource for EIDL borrowers, and we are encouraging everybody who got an economic injury disaster loan for COVID to set up their CAFS account so that you can view all of the information that you need to manage your loan. Secondly, you can also set up online recurring payments on pay.gov. So the pay.gov system is an electronic platform where you can go on to make payments to many different federal agencies, and that includes payments on SBA loans. And what we would advise you to do, because we know business owners are busy people, is set up your CAFS account, find out when your loan is due and how much your payment is, and then you can go on the pay.gov system and you can set up recurring monthly payments. You can just automate your payments so you don't have to worry about it. You don't have to remember to make it every month. You don't have to find that stamp or go online and remember to make that. So again, the CAFS system, pay.gov, great resources and information for small businesses. Now, another question that we're getting from businesses is, well, what do I do if I cannot make my payments? Or what do I do if I'm concerned that I'm not going to be able to make my payments? Our office here in Fresno and all of SBA's 68 district offices around the country, we do not administer the economic injury disaster loan, but we do have colleagues who do oversee that program, again, through our Loan Disaster Center in El Paso. So if you have concerns about not being able to make your loan payments, there are some programs in place that can give you some short-term relief, some additional deferment, and you can reach out to the Loan Center in El Paso and talk to them about what your situation is and what you may potentially be eligible for. The last thing I want to say about the COVID EIDL is that if you have concerns, if you have questions, if you're not sure what to do, please don't feel like you're on your own to figure any of this out. And please don't not take action. These are federally issued loans. You don't want to be delinquent on those. We don't want you to be delinquent on those, and you don't want to have those go into Treasury offset, because at a certain point, if you're not making payments, they are going to get sent to Department of Treasury, and then it's actually Treasury that you're going to be dealing with, not the SBA. So again, please know that there's help available either through the district office here in Fresno, through the El Paso Disaster Loan Servicing Center, and of course, as always, the SBDC and SBA's other resource partners are a great tool, a great advocate for you as a business owner. They're wonderful consultants. They have a great deal of technical expertise on all things related to small business. So you can also feel confident in reaching out to Kelly and his team at the SBDC. I also briefly want to touch on PPP. I know we are still getting questions on PPP loans occasionally. If you have a PPP loan, you should have already requested forgiveness on your loan. If you have not done that, there are still some ways that you can request forgiveness, and I would encourage you to reach out to your PPP lender to find out what you need to do. We're definitely still getting a pretty steady stream of PPP questions, so I do want to touch on that. I also want to mention that all PPP loans were eligible if you asked the lender for it, for up to 5 years of repayment. I know many PPP loans that were made in the first round, borrowers only got 2 years to repay, but if you are making payments on a PPP loan, you can ask your lender to extend you 5-year repayment terms at 1% interest. So I know sometimes businesses, they just say, well, my promissory note that I signed says I only get 2 years. And that may have been what you signed at that time, but it's important to know that all PPP loans were eligible for up to 5 years of forgiveness. And that's something that you can request through your lender. I want to talk a little bit now about capital. I know, again, many businesses are starting to come out of COVID or are looking at growth opportunities. Post-COVID are looking at maybe even starting a business. So please know that SBA does have wonderful lenders in Kern County and throughout the San Joaquin Valley, and they are great contacts for you if you're thinking about either getting capital for your business to start or getting additional capital for your business to grow. I also want to note that over the last 12 months, SBA's 504 loan program, which is our wonderful funding program for commercial real estate, went gangbusters. So even with interest rates the way they are right now, if you're a small business who rents, you may find that actually purchasing property, purchasing commercial real estate for your business to operate out of may be the same or only slightly more than what you're paying in rent, because certainly interest rates have gone up, but rent has also gone up. And so I would encourage you, if you are a business owner that rents, you should definitely look at SBA's 504 loan program. We do have a great 504 lender in Kern County with Midstate. They're a wonderful lender. They do a lot of great loans, and we would encourage you to get in touch with them. And if you're a business that's thinking about getting capital for the first time, the Small Business Development Center has some wonderful resources to help you put a business plan together or get ready to work with a lender. The last thing I want to touch upon, because I know we want to have some time at the end for questions, is government contracting. So the SBA does administer a number of certifications that help small businesses who are interested in contracting with federal government agencies get a competitive advantage. This includes the HubZone certification, the Women-Owned Small Business certification, the 8A certification, and as of January of this year, the SBA has also assumed responsibility for administration and oversight of the Disabled Veteran Business Certification. So if you are a disabled veteran and you have a small business, the SBA is now administering that program. Previously, it was overseen by the Veterans Administration. So the SBA has a new platform that you can go on to request certification. If you are already certified, and had a DVBE certification, those businesses all received a 1-year period where they did not need to renew. So if you already have it, you're good. If you're thinking about getting it, then please be aware that the SBA is now overseeing that program and has a new platform set up where disabled veteran-owned businesses can go on to request that certification. So with that, I'm going to pause. I want to say thank you again to Kelly, certainly for everything he does, he and his team with the SBDC, for all the support they provide to small businesses. Congratulations on 260 of these webinars. That's a huge accomplishment. And I want to make sure that I leave time for any questions.
Dawn, thank you. That was fantastic information. And really a great job that you and your office and your team does throughout your 15 counties. You get one more county than we get. So just one question that, you know, I probably have a bad habit of always trying to anticipate what's happening next and some of the new things that are going to be happening and down the road, which is probably not the greatest quality I have. But I guess my question to that is there any indication of any other capital programs that might be coming along? That is really the question we get the most here. So is there, you know, just maybe a look into the crystal ball of something that could be happening down the road?
Yeah, I wish my crystal ball worked that good, Kelly. I would say at this time, there's nothing firm that's been announced. There's no launch dates for anything. But as always, again, we have a great network of SBA approved lenders in Kern County and up and down the San Joaquin Valley. I do want to also note that sometimes businesses say, well, you know, I just need a little bit of capital. I just need a small loan. I don't need $1 million. And there are smaller SBA loans available. If you just need a little bit of capital, SBA may have a lender and a loan product for you. So we do have our lender match platform that you can find on the SBA webpage, or you can just Google SBA lender match. It is essentially an online matchmaking tool to help small businesses connect with SBA approved lenders who may be able to make that loan for you and get you the funding that you need for your business. So we know business owners are busy people. You don't have the time to be calling banks. And so with Lender Match, you don't have to do that. You can go on the Lender Match platform, answer a few questions, enter some information about your business, and hit the send button. And in 48 hours, hear back from SBA approved lenders who may be able to get you the capital that you need to either start up or scale up your small business. But at this time, Kelly, the short answer to your question, nothing, no release date on anything new coming, but lots of opportunities to use our existing programs and our outstanding network of SBA lenders.
Great. And you know what? Lender Match is really something that we need to do on this program, and we're going to do something. So I will get with you off a webinar and talk about maybe a good contact to bring in on Lender Match.
Okay, love to do that.
And maybe we'll do that in wrapping with our current capital summit that we will be announcing in the next couple of weeks that my crystal ball keeps telling me is going to happen this year again.
And Kelly, I want to also just real quickly mention, I'm sure you'll be doing at a future webinar an in-depth look at the new SSBCI initiatives that'll be coming out, the state small business credit initiative. It isn't necessarily new lending, although there will be some new channels for getting capital out to small businesses. But there's so much money coming into the state from that program that in order for the state to get that money out, there's going to have to be some creative ways to maybe a little more flexibility in the credit box, et cetera. So I'm sure we'll be covering that over the next 3 or 4 months.
Yeah, and we have covered it quite a bit. And one way that I see is that, as everybody leaves me on screen, is that, you know, they have a program that's, I think, interesting. We're just starting to work with clients, and actually some of that, their loan programs can be worked in conjunction with SBA. And for example, I'm talking about the collateral program, where if you have a small, if you're under collateralized on a particular project. Say your loan is fine. You have money to put into the project. You have the numbers make sense. Your lender's happy, but you don't have the security of the collateral. Then they do have the program where you can actually get collateral support that might even support, an SBA 7A loan or other programs. So we have a few clients that are kind of going through that now, and we're really excited to try to see how that works. And once we get that going, then I think that is definitely something that I think that we can do more of. Well, it seems like our audience is pretty shy today. Maybe they're stuffing themselves with the webinar Wednesday birthday cake. But not many questions coming out today, which makes me think that everybody was really thorough and did a great job. From what I heard, that's what I heard from Kurt. Thank you for joining us. Dawn, pleasure as always, and fantastic to have you on Webinar Wednesday. We will be back next week with Dr. Nyakande Macheka, who is a professor of economics at CSU Bakersfield. Really looking forward to having Nyakande on next week. As I mentioned, he will be our 6th CSUB economist to be on Webinar Wednesday, and we will hold him, Kurt, like we're going to hold you as far as your economic projection that you make later in the year. So, we're equal opportunity at that. So, for our producer, Maureen Busher-Dang, thank you for everything you do behind the scenes, Maureen, and have done for most of these 10 years now. And our speakers and our special guests today, Kurtis Clark and Dawn Golik, thank you so much. We'll be back next week, webinar number 261. Everybody have a great week. Bye-bye.